to the there. I'll let everybody in while you go.
All right, sounds good. Well, let me go ahead and share my page, my screen here. There we go. All right. We are going to talk about the home buying process tonight. This is brought to you by the Heroes Housing Assistance Program. There we go. And my name is Paul Fedynich, and I am a broker associate. I am with the VIP home team at the Real Estate Collection. And as you can see, pictured is myself with my partner Valerie and our teammate Nick. The three of us, we've got over 25 years of experience in the real estate industry, and I'm a former managing broker for two major brands, Coldwell Banker and Premier Sotheby's International Realty. So we are the Central Florida affiliates for Heroes Housing, and we're very proud of that fact because, you know, Heroes Housing is a not-for-profit that provides discounts and financial support and can save you thousands of dollars on your home purchase or sale, for that matter. And so, you know, when you're buying or selling a home and you're one of our heroes, the process is real simple. It's a matter of working with us and working with Scarlett's team for as far as the lender goes. And we actually contribute a part of our commission back to you at settlement as our way of saying thank you. And also in appreciation, a lot of our heroes are nurses. And I am intentionally wearing red today because February is Heart Health Month. And so I am wearing red for heart health. So otherwise, I normally would be wearing a black polo shirt that has our logo on it. And I thought, well, this would probably be more appropriate since we're in February. Plus, hey, it was just Valentine's Day, right? So today's discussion, we're going to be talking about several different topics. Okay, we're going to talk about renting versus buying. And we're going to talk about when is the best time to buy. Then we're going to follow that up with 10 steps to buying a home. Real simple. Now, we're not going to break down those 10 steps in as much detail as we really need to. But again, for those on the call, this book, I don't know if you can see it. Let me take this cover off. But this is, nope. Virtual backgrounds, they'll kill it every time. So, but anyway, you'll get a free ebook just by letting us know that you want one. We'll get it off to you in email after tonight's meeting. But that'll detail the 10 steps to buying a home, a lot more for you. Then we're going to talk about what's your next step. And we're going to talk about how we can help you. And then we're going to have some Q&A, which is Ask the Expert at the end. So hopefully we can get this all done in the next 3 hours. So hopefully you've got a cup of coffee and you're alert and you're ready to go. All right. So right now, we're going to... I know it's always hard to doing the Zoom and trying to do a joke and you're like, okay, nobody got that, but that's okay. Buying versus renting. Now, you know, I've got on the screen really the two main reasons, the main principles behind buying and renting and the benefits of each. But, you know, for buying, you really, you're whoops. Let me go back. So buying, your monthly principal and interest payment is actually going towards equity in your home. You know, you're got a fixed rate on what your mortgage is going to be every month, and you're building your legacy. For renting, each year your rent goes up and you're paying off your landlord's mortgage. So you're building their legacy. There's a big difference in the buying and renting process. So, you know, with buying, you're paying into an appreciating asset. Okay, your equity is going to build every single month. You'll get a significant tax deduction as well. So that's going to give you savings every year on your taxes, because when you can't deduct your rent and the portion that goes towards property taxes or anything like that. So when you're buying a home, you have those particular benefits. Okay, you're also going to have tax-free capital gains, because as your home appreciates over time, a single person can actually gain $250,000 in profit and not pay tax on it. And a married couple can earn up to $500,000 in capital gains on their home, on their primary home. and not have to pay any capital gains tax on that. Another big thing about buying versus renting is you can actually do what you want to do to make that your home. So you can change it up however way you want. You can paint it whatever way you want. You can plant a garden in the back. You have the ability to make your home a home, as opposed to being in a place that you're renting and you don't know if you're going to be here next year or not. Landlord's not going to let you do anything to make it your own. So buying is going to give you that ability. And certainly buying is a lot cheaper in the long run. And let's take a look at this chart. So as you can see here, okay, this chart shows a cost comparison for a renter and a homeowner over the period of 7 years. Okay, every year the rent is going to increase by 5%. And this is pretty standard. If you look at any lease agreement, there's going to be a set amount that, if you agree to stay and renew your lease, your rent is going to go up. It's very rare does your rent stay the same year after year. Okay, then your mortgage payment, though, if you look at that, your rent payment is $800 a month starting out, and it's going to go up year over year. As you can see, after 7 years, it's going to be $1,072. But your mortgage payment, if it was about $1,000, okay, it's going to be the same after year 7. And you can see at the far right bottom corner that $2,664 is your savings after 7 years. And that's a significant difference. Now, there's not too many places that you can actually go and rent for $800 in this day and time, and a mortgage payment of $1,000, while not too far off, is probably not the norm as much as it was some years ago. But this chart is not that old. It's from Ginnie Mae, the federal government, and was actually published out in, I think it was 2017, 2018. So it gives you a really good idea of, just over a short period of time, what that benefit is going to be financially. Now, just think about if your rent payment was higher or your mortgage payment was higher, or both. I mean, the amount of savings that you're going to have is actually going to increase tremendously based on what your payment is. Now, when is a good time to buy? Well, as I always tell people, the best time to buy is now. If you're looking for a home, and we all need a place to live, right? So, and you'd rather buy than own, then now is the best time for you to buy. And if you take a look at this chart, interest rates have never been lower. And this is just a history over the last 3 years. And, we were starting to go back to some sort of normalcy, and we got up to just about 5% in interest rates. But then all of a sudden they realized that, well, we need to stimulate the economy more, and housing is the way to do it. So we're going to start giving away money again. And as you can see, we are down below 2 3/4 interest percentage points. And it's like free money. And so this is the time for anybody that's interested in buying to go out there and do the best you can to make it work for yourself, because over the period of the life of the loan, this is going to have a huge impact in how much interest you pay over the period of 30 years. And it could be even just 10 years. Odds are people aren't living in their homes for 30 years anymore, but even 5-10 years, it's going to make a huge impact over how much money you save and how much home you can actually afford. So let's take a look at the 10 easy steps to buying a home. All right, step 1. Well, you start off with getting pre-approved with a lender. That would be Scarlett. You want to have a conversation with Scarlett and the team, and you want to discover whether or not credit repair is in order, and learn how much you can qualify for. So that way it prepares you to buy. Okay, you'll want to make sure that you get all your documents together. There's going to be a whole slew of documents needed, but most of all, especially for pre-approval, you're going to need to make sure your tax returns are handy. Most likely for the last 2 years, you're going to need your W-2s, your 1099s if you have that, maybe your last couple pay stubs, and your bank statements. These are all documents that are going to be needed to get approved for a loan. So you want to get those out and get them ready to go. If you haven't checked your credit, you can either let the lender check it for you, or you can go to a place like freecreditscore.com or one of those annual credit reporting agencies and get a copy of your credit and see where you're at. There's a lot of different loan programs out there, and Scarlett's going to be able to give you more details on that than myself. But, a 20 to 30 point difference in your credit score could make a big difference on what you actually get for an interest rate. So in order to get that 2.5 to 2.75% interest rate, you're going to have a pretty good credit score. Versus if you have a lower credit score, you can still get a loan, but you're going to pay for it in the interest rate that you qualify for. So it's really important that you get started with the lender, okay? And that's gonna help you understand what you can qualify for in the form of a payment and how much home you can afford. Your next step is going to be gathering information about what your wants are and what your needs are. There's a lot of difference when searching for a home. We all want certain things when it comes to our home, but you really need to start with knowing what your needs are. And this comes into effect when, whoever your agent is should be asking you questions that will help you dig in and find out, well, what those needs are, what are those needs and what are those wants that I really got to have? We all like to have a pool, right? But what if a pool in our backyard? It would be really nice, and I really would want that. But as long as we have a community pool, I'm okay with that. There's ways to get around the different wants and needs. Sometimes people want a 4-bedroom house, but will a 3-bedroom actually work? Maybe a 3-bedroom in a den versus 4 full bedrooms. Maybe 2.5 baths versus 3 baths. It's important to know these things because that's how your realtor is going to be able to help you. A good realtor is going to, like I said, ask you a lot of questions and be able to dig deep into finding out, what are those wants and what are those needs that you'd like to have. So step 3, well, we've started talking about your realtor. Step 3 is selecting a licensed realtor that is available to you. And by available, that means, somebody that is going to be responsive to you and your needs, that will return your call when you reach out to them. If you send them a text, they'll text you back in a reasonable amount of time. But the biggest thing is having them pick up the phone, or at least getting back to you in a very quick amount of time. You want to make sure that you have a realtor that has skills and knowledge about the communities in which you're interested in, but knowledge about the business as a whole. So the amount of years of experience really does make a difference in who you hire and how they're going to perform for you. We were working with some buyers today, in fact, some heroes, and they're getting ready to go to closing tomorrow. And the mother-in-law was with them today, and she was saying she was trying to get a friend of hers that was buying a home. She was selling a home and buying a home. Trying to get her to fire her realtor and hire us, which we had no idea on. We never suggest that to anybody, but she was trying to, because she knew how we were performing, but the other realtor wasn't picking up the phone, wasn't getting the answers that they needed, and was recommending things to the customer that really shouldn't have been recommended. And the offer that was received on the house, there was multiple offers. They chose one that wasn't already pre-approved, and yet the other one that another offer that was on the house was a cash offer ready to go, and they went with the one that hadn't been pre-approved yet. Little things like that you really need to think about and make sure that you have a really strong buyer. So those are some of the things that we do as a realtor, and again, asking a lot of questions of you so that we can have your needs top of mind and be able to help you out. We also set you up on a portal when you're looking for property, and we know your criteria and we know your wants and needs. We set up a portal so that you're getting fed all the newest listings as they come out, which is really important in a seller's market. When things are flying off the shelf really quick, you want to know when there's a new listing on the market and be able to approach that listing just as quickly as you can. So step 4, All right, step 4 is where we do set up a portal for you. You start viewing and selecting properties online that you might have an interest in. You know, when we put you into a portal, you're able to indicate whether you like the home, you love the home. You can set remarks on it. You can delete the home if it doesn't, doesn't do anything for you. But the more you can give in feedback to us or your agents, the more we can help you. We can understand what you're liking, what you're not liking, and then we can help get you more of the properties that fit your needs, that fit your requirements, than just aimly or just kind of shooting at the target with without aiming. We can get you the right properties to where you're seeing what you want to be able to see. So that brings us to step 5. Okay, step 5 is the purchase agreement. This is where things get a little bit more complicated. Okay, the purchase agreement is a 12-page, well, depending on which contract you use, but roughly a 12-page document. Okay, and there's actually 3 different contracts in the state of Florida. So it's going to be really important for your agent to have this discussion with you as to which contract is going to be best for you when placing an offer on a house. We have a standard contract. We have what's called an as-is contract, okay, where you're buying the home as is, and you're not really expecting much from the seller, but you still have all the rights to all the inspections. You're entitled to do all the inspections, and that can open up a whole nother negotiation. Then there's a third contract that's mostly used in South Florida, but I have seen it used in Central Florida as well. It's called the CRISP contract, and things are a little bit different. One of the contracts, they go, days are counted by each and every calendar day. Another contract, the days are counted by each and every business day. So you have to know, well, which contract is going to be better for you, and how is it going to differ when it comes to the home inspections. Because a home inspection is something else we'll talk about, but that's an important equation when it comes to the contract. So in preparing the purchase agreement, your agent should be giving you comparables of the home that you're interested in buying. You want to know, what are homes around there selling for, and what is this home going to appraise for? Okay, because that's going to tell you, give you a good idea on what you should be offering in the way of a fair price on the property. Now, I say fair, but the thing is that sometimes, in this type of market, you might have to be a little bit more aggressive in your price in what you offer. There's, when there's in a multiple offer situation, you may have to offer above full price. And that there's a strategy to that, because if you're having a lot of buyers coming in and there's multiple offers, you might, as long as you can afford it, you might want to offer a lot higher than what the list price is, but always include a contingency addendum that is for the appraisal. It's an appraisal contingency saying that, hey, if it doesn't appraise, we'll either renegotiate the amount on the contract, or we'll walk away and get our deposit back. So there's different ways in which you can handle that. So that's a strategy that you've got to have that conversation with your agent and understand that. Whoops. So you look at the comps to be able to figure out, well, what am I going to offer for the house? Then you got to figure out, well, what's my down payment going to be? What's my deposit? That's the earnest money that goes into escrow. And I've always used 1% as a rule of thumb, and different agents have different ways of going about it. But as a buyer, you're really at the mercy of what the seller asks for. Now, that's not something they usually tell us up front, but with your offer, you submit the dollar amount, and they might counter offer as maybe they want a little bit more. Maybe they want $10,000 as a deposit, but that's something you have to talk about. Okay, you got to decide, when is settlement going to happen? Well, before you can decide on a settlement date, you need to talk to the lender and make sure that how quickly can they get this loan processed and get it clear to close the settlement. We were closing 30 days all day long. Now we're more about the 30 to 45 days in time from contract to closing. So you need to make sure that you check in on that and see what the process is going to take. And I also always recommend, everybody always wants to close on a Friday afternoon, or they want to close at the end of the month. And you know, I don't see any rhyme or reason for people to do that, because what happens is it gets very chaotic. That last week leading up to closing is always a lot of things going on. And so I always will push, let's close on a Wednesday or a Thursday, because if there's an issue with settlement and we have to push it back another day, we're talking about maybe a 1 day delay. If we're trying to close on Friday and we have an issue with getting funding, or we have an issue where somebody didn't perform, or in this case we have people coming down from up north on Thursday for a settlement, we're watching the storm going on up there, and if they don't make it, we're going to have to push settlement back. And it's funny because the same buyer, they sold their house up north a couple weeks ago, and they closed on a Friday afternoon, and the money was not dispersed until Tuesday. So think about the delay in that, because even though they closed, it didn't finish getting processed until Tuesday. So luckily it didn't negatively impact somebody, but it really can. And so you want to look carefully at the date. You have to understand the financing, because there's a financing contingency built into the contract. So understanding that and having your agent speaking to the lender to know what type of loan you're looking at and the time frame, how soon can we get a loan commitment, because that's all part of the contract. Then you've got to start talking about inspection periods, because the inspection period is a time where it gives you an opportunity to do all your inspections and decide whether you want the house or not. Or depending on which contract you use, you might have a clause in there that already says the seller's ready, willing, and able to contribute $1,000 to any and all repairs based on the inspection report. So, but it's really important that you know that you can get all the different inspections, and there's a lot. You can do a home inspection, you can do a septic inspection, you can do a wind mitigation, you can inspect the pool equipment. So there's different inspectors that do all these different things. On there's wood destroying organisms, for termites and so forth. So you've got to have this discussion with the agent. And then of course there's all kinds of different riders and addendums that can go with the contract. You might have a contingency in there, a contingency for a home to sell, a contingency on something else. You can have a appraisal contingency. Even if you get in financing, there's a somewhat of a contingency built into that for the appraisal. But I always add an appraisal contingency as a extra backup for a buyer, just in case there's any issues with that. Because as we see in a rising market, there are times where a home's not going to appraise, even though somebody's got a contract for a certain amount. So step 6, okay, your agent is going to go ahead and present that offer on your behalf. Okay, the agent takes that to the listing agent. Normally, the way I do it is I take that PDF. It's the entire contract or the entire offer is going to be in PDF format. I attach it to an email, and then in the email, the body of the email, I break it down to all the important parts of the contract. I say that this is the offering price, this is the deposit, this is when settlement is, this is all the contingencies, the time frame for the inspections and so forth. So that makes it easier for the agent on the other side. So that way I'm already making a friend with the agent as opposed to a foe, because I'm making his job a little bit easier by presenting it that way. But this is what opens a negotiation. And with any negotiation, it requires a lot of patience. And this is where buyers and sellers get a little anxious, because it becomes a waiting game. And so you don't know if somebody's playing games or what's going on. And so, our minds tend to go negative and thinking about different weird things. But you just need to know that your agent is working on your behalf, and they're doing everything that they can to make this happen for you. But you just need to be patient. And, sometimes you can go back and forth. I've been in some negotiations that went back and forth for over 2 weeks. Okay, buyers and sellers just not quite getting there yet, and we're bickering over, a couple $100 in some cases, and to where we finally get it there. But it can be very stressful during that time frame. That leads us to step 7. Okay, you're entitled to many different home inspections, as I talked about. Okay, but you definitely do not want to proceed without at least a home inspection. And this is a good point for me to even touch upon new construction. There's a lot of new construction going on in Florida, and one of the things that people don't think about is to have a home inspector go out and inspect a new construction home. It's like, wow, the builder's building the home. It's all brand new. It's being inspected by the building department. But you'd be surprised at what a home inspector will find, even on new construction. So I always encourage buyers to take a look at that, give it consideration, because you want to protect that asset that you're buying at this point. Also, with new construction, if you are interested in buying new construction, you do need to know that agents are allowed to bring you into a builder's model, okay, and represent you. But the important thing with that is that we need to be there with you on your first visit and get you registered. So don't go registering online. Don't go visiting them, without your agent. If you do, at least bring your agent's business card and say that you are working with so-and-so and they're your agent. And that way they can connect, and you let your agent know that, yeah, I was just there. I talked to, Joe Smith, the agent. And that way your realtor can then follow up with a phone call and say, yeah, I understand my buyer was just there and they're very interested in the property. And I've been working with them. I do represent them. And that way you don't cut them out of the equation, and they can continue to help them, because if you go in without, you just cut them out, and then there's no way for your agent to help. That leads us to step number 8. Okay, this is where you're actually obtaining the financing. You're going to get that conditional approval and then the final approval. Okay, sometimes that conditional approval may not come out till the day before settlement or the day of settlement, but I always look for a conditional approval, because that kind of gives me an idea of where are we at in the process. Are we missing anything? Are we still waiting on anything? Sometimes we learn that, well, the buyer forgot to give their latest bank statement, and they're the lender's waiting on that, and so that gives us an opportunity to reach out to the buyer and say, hey, Mr. Buyer, still waiting on your bank statement. So sometimes little things like that happen, and we're there to help with the reminders. So step 9. All right, now you're at the point where you can start preparing the close. All right, and there's a lot of things that go on with the preparing the close. All right, but you're going to get about 3 days prior to closing, you should get what's called a CD, or a closing disclosure. Okay, that's going to come from your lender, which will have all the costs and expenses of the closing broken down for you, and you can analyze that and make sure everything looks okay. Okay, and then after that, that closing disclosure will then go to the title, and title will create what's called the ALTA. And now ALTA is an acronym. We don't need to get into the acronyms, but that's going to be your final settlement statement. And that's where all the numbers really matter the most, because that's it. That's what you're going to be signing on. So you should be able to get a preliminary of that a couple of days prior. Make sure your agents get that, review it, make sure everything is good to go. Okay, now we're going to closing. All right, when you go to closing, that's where you're actually going to be signing all the documents. You're going to be signing your life away, and there's going to be probably 60, 70, 80 pages of documents. It could be a little overwhelming, but that's when you actually, the title transfers over to you. You take possession, you get the keys, they get the money, and you can start living in your home. So what's your next step? Well, your next step is getting pre-approved. Start that process. Make that application. Give them a call, or start on their online site. You can go in and just do everything online, enter the data, and they'll be back with you in no time and tell you what what you can get approved for. But you know what? If you feel like you might have some issues, get started on the credit repair. because it does take a little bit of time. It might take a couple months, might take 4 months, could take 6 months, but in time, getting that credit repaired can make all the difference in the world for you, saving tens of thousands of dollars over the life of your loan. So you want to look into that and make sure, excuse me, that you've actually got your credit to the best that you can do at this particular time. So what's the VIP step? Well, for those living in Central Florida, we are the VIP home team, and we are here to help and serve you. But if you're in another area, another region, you want to be able to reach out to Scarlett, because she's going to be the one that can connect you to the agent that's in your area, that's most qualified, that is a Heroes Housing affiliate, that is willing to provide that rebate to you, because not all agents are willing to do so. Agents are really tough with their commissions. They like to hang on to them and not give them up for much of anything. But I can assure you that we are here. We're born in our life. We like to give back, and we certainly appreciate our heroes, and are more than willing to provide those rebates as a way of saying thank you. So here's the way to reach me. Okay, again, my name, Paul Fedynich. I'm a broker associate. My cell phone's on the screen, 407-744-1681. I know my email, one of my email addresses is on the chat, but another easy one to remember is info@theviphome.team. Whoops, and see, I've got some typos on my screen, but our website is theviphome.team. So the email address is info@theviphome.team. So feel free to reach out. And again, once we get you a copy of the book, boy, I wish, I'm not used to having this virtual background, but we'll get you a copy of the book, and there'll be a lot more details in there. But I didn't want to go over our 8 o'clock time frame, which I have by a few minutes, but I certainly appreciate everybody being on here, and I want to be able to open it up to any questions. We've got a lot of people on here. There's got to be some really good questions. I'm sure of it.
Paul, that was awesome. Thank you very, very, very much. And I want to say I completely appreciate everybody. I put in a link for a survey so that if you've got any questions. And I also wanted to say, not only do we have a great group of realtor affiliates pretty much in every state and wherever you are, but we've got some fantastic lenders. And for me, my team, we have Geneva Holland, we have Lauren Morjan, I think she's still on her, yeah, she's still on, and Celia, who's actually very sick tonight. So I just wanted to let you know that we've got a pretty solid different group of lenders, and depending on where you are, just like with the realtors, it's kind of assigned that way. So does anybody have any questions for any of us? And oh, by the way, okay, I didn't, sorry, I apologize. We also have some incredibly talented realtors on this call, right? So Paul, you are our broker, although you're a broker associate. I come to you for mentorship a lot. You are in Central Florida. We have Christina Conway, who is in Virginia. She is one of our affiliates and an amazing, wonderful woman. And we also have Amy Sams. Amy is she's like Southern Florida on the West Coast. She's just a little south of us, right? Sarasota ish. And I think who else? Oh, and of course, my favorite realtors. Oh, Samuel! Look, we got California representing us today.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Samuel. So Samuel's from California, although you are one of my favorites, but I'm married to one who is Kevin Roger. He's kind of put his realtor hat aside for right now because he's chief of operations of some COVID facility here. So he's, doing his thing. Hi, Miss Amy Sams. Welcome.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you for joining us. Christina, would you want to come out and say hi?
Hello.
Hello. And I don't know if you can, Geneva, or not, but Lauren, either any of y'all, but does anybody have any questions? Paul, that was probably the best one I've heard so far. But then again, I'm the only other person who does them. So it was nice listening for a change. I appreciate you.
Well, you're selling yourself short, Scarlett. You've done fantastic on all the other ones we've had. So it's probably just a good for you for, have a little change and be able to lay back a little bit. So
100%. I'm like messaging in the chat, checking it. So I appreciate you very much.
Thank you, Paul.
So does anybody have any questions, Miss Jones? We've got a lot of people on this call. Where are we representing? Y'all want to put in the chat room where you are?
Just
You got a question for us, Miss Jones?
yeah.
You ask, ma'am.
I recently filed for bankruptcy, and I know I have the 2-year mark. When can I get started with the home process?
When was your bankruptcy discharged?
October of 2020.
Okay, so we would be October 2022. Is that correct?
Okay. Yeah.
Geneva? So where are you located, Miss Joan?
I just moved to Lakeland about a month ago.
Very good. So you would be over in between Paul and I. So somewhere between Lakeland's kind of a little bit on our side, but so there's some really great programs. Sorry, I'm going to throw you under the bus, honey, but I met my husband when I used to do foreclosure prevention. Sorry, babe. And he was a client. And our last house that we bought, we actually bought ourselves through one of those programs. Okay. So there's a couple of programs that will buy the house for you, right? And Paul, I'm sure you're familiar with Home Partners, Dizzy, Dream America. There's a couple of them. I personally love Home Partners. And that's who we bought. So they go in, they buy the house, the realtor takes you, you pick out the house that you like, they negotiate a cash offer, they buy it, and then it's kind of capped at what you can buy it back from them for. So why is that a good deal? Because if you don't like moving around all the time, it'll allow you to get into a house that you're going to be at, right? And you don't have to feel like a nomad that you're having to pack every couple of months or so. Definitely a solution. You can do that where you sit. I've done like 10 to 12 of them when I was a realtor. Geneva was always really great because Geneva was, when I was a realtor, she was my lender, which is funny. And she actually is really good at, because we can then help you buy the house from them at your 2-year mark, but you're grasping the purchase price now. You want to be able to buy in an area that it is appreciating so that way when you do go to buy it, you have that value, right? And that's where you want to be able to get with somebody that is knowledgeable and depending on where in Lakeland, I mean, if Paul's willing to do it, I say go for it. But I do believe that they do have those programs in that area.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else?
Scarlett, you bring up that the program there, and I hate to, it's kind of like new construction. We don't like to give the names of the companies away that do this, because if you go to their site, then they're going to assign you to somebody else because it's going to require registering. But if somebody's interested in that, we like to call it the try before you buy program, because it really does. I mean, look, you can lease it from them for a year, up to 5 years, but if you don't want to buy it, you just walk away. But it gives you the opportunity to at least, if you find that you have to move somewhere right now, and you're not in a position to buy, but you'd like to buy, then you can at least look for a home that you'd like to call home and make your own, and rent that home for the first year, 2 years. You know, even if you're ready in 6 months, you can end that lease in 6 months and buy it for the set amount of price that they've preset. So it does open up a lot of options for people that you know, might be in a place where they're stuck and they don't have many options.
Well, and the other cool thing is if somebody's on this call and they're here as housing, we have worked our program through our foundation as well. So there's still a big benefit to you, that you would want to do that. And I would always recommend to never go on site, and because you want a realtor working for you. Like, you would never call the law firm of somebody who's suing you to ask you to help negotiate a deal with them, would you?
Mm,
It's kind of the same thing when you think.
mhm, mhm.
So you want somebody that's going to represent your best interest, for sure. But that's a great question, Ms. Joan. I'm glad you brought that up, because that is something that a lot of people, when I got into real estate, because I had such a strong background in the foreclosure prevention, that I just realized what an opportunity. Because really, you could go in there and do some things that you don't want to go in and like rehab one, but you can go in there and do some things that's going to help you benefit for the, you know, what you do to it, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So, does anybody else have any questions?
Yes.
Hi, Miss Pam.
Hi. Now that program, what are the requirements for that program? Is it still the same, like the credit score and all that?
525-ish, no
Okay.
felony. It cannot go into condos. I think it may go up to 540, actually. It's, you know, they don't buy condos, they don't really like HOAs, because, you know, a lot of times you have to be able to rent in there because you're really the tenant.
Okay.
So
Yeah, there's some restrictions with those programs, but they're less restrictive than you trying to get a mortgage. You know,
Okay.
it's just like you applying to rent somewhere else. You know, it's going through that same process and same approval process. So, it increases the odds that you'll be able to, you know, get what you're looking for.
Okay. Thank you.
the thing is that if you're, you know, if you're looking and you're 3 months out, well, then wait 3 months and buy the house normally. But if you're 6 months to a year, if you're looking at having to lease or do this, then that is a definitely better option for you. And it opens up the availability. Although, hold on, I used to say it opened up the availability, but the market is so crazy right now that
Yep.
they're finding in availability is hard. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
it makes it challenging. Yeah, there's if you know when I go look at their website to see what homes are available that are already approved, it's very limited. So but it is a good time to think about too if you're in a situation where you need some credit repair, you know, to look at that and take that time necessary to get that score up, because it can, Scarlett, you and I were talking about that just recently. I think that, you know, 20 points in your credit score can make a difference of how much in the interest rate, an
Well,
eighth
it
of
depends on the price points, but I mean, if you're talking like a 680 is sometimes, you know, where you could get about an eighth to a quarter better in some aspects. Lauren probably at this point might be stronger on that because she's done, you know, our market's been a little crazy this week. So she's been like, she's in charge of Jenny's, Celia, and my pipeline right now. So she's probably like rates through the eyeballs, want to poke her eyeballs out. But yes, it is a big deal. Like if you're at 620, can you buy a house? Yes, but you're probably looking in the mid threes, high threes, right? But what if you could get it to 680 and then you're in the, you know, low threes? So, okay, so we have a question. She is a nurse at work, so she can't turn the chat on. Thank you. I'm so glad. Is this beneficial first time buyer comparison to home grant? So I really wish Celia was on the call because I call her our residence down payment assistance queen. But we have down payment assistance, we have first time buyer bonds, we have grants. There's a lot of different things. But for you, Miss Jones, you would have not only the grants or the down payment assistance, but our program is stackable. And this isn't really a here's housing pitch, but just so you know, what we give you is on top of what you get. So again, because she's on it, and I love having my daughter on my team. But back when they had the $15,000 bonds, and Jenny was doing the loans, and I was selling the houses, we were getting people in. It was crazy. I mean, I think she had one guy that actually had some down payments. He bought the rates weren't as high back then, but it was just amazing. Some of these programs, some of them, you really, really, if you have the 3%, you really want to look at that and compare it. You know, is it worth it? But we can stack what we give. I give 1,500. The realtors give 20% of their commission. So, you know, that can really add up. Anybody else have any questions? We have Valerie Moran. How are you doing, Valerie? I just talked to you or just texted you. Thank you for joining us. You know what I love? I love seeing my clients on here because you know what that means? It means their process is going to be so much easier for them because now they feel a lot more at ease because they just were educated. So I appreciate that, Paul. You know, it just really takes the stress out.
Well, that's where, you know, it's a big process. And you know, funny thing is that just it was what, about 3 years ago, I bought a home, and it ended up being an investment property for me, but I hadn't been through the home buying process in a while. Now I've been in the business personally for over 18 years. And like I said, over 8 years I spent as a managing broker. But going through the process myself gave me an even better understanding. You know, we work with it day in and day out, and we help so many people. But when we go through it ourselves, it gives us a whole brand new perspective on what our buyers are going through and what they're dealing with. And I always tell agents, it's a good thing to do. You should be investing in real estate. You should be going through the buying process because that keeps it all fresh and top of mind. And when you can understand what others are going through and you can understand the process, it helps to simplify everything and alleviate a lot of the stress of what goes on through the transaction.
Oh, I agree. I remember when oh my gosh. And I say this, I used to be a great negotiator as a realtor, but when I found my house that I wanted to buy, I was the worst, right? And I didn't care what that inspector found. I wanted that house. And I said, I think everybody that's in the business should go through this every like 2 to 3 years to remind them and have empathy of what our clients are feeling on the other side.
Yeah, because there's so much emotion that goes into it, and it's even worse when selling a home, because now, you know, we all feel as sellers our home is the best home on the block, and it doesn't matter that our neighbor got X number of dollars. Our home is worth so much more, and we always try to educate our sellers that that's really not the case. It still needs to appraise, and all the things that we learn to do and we do to help. But when it's our home, and I've had several examples of me not following my own direction because I felt like, okay, well, I want to get more. Mine is worth more. And it wasn't until I can follow my own direction that actually I could get some of my previous properties sold in the past, and still make out okay. But just, you know, it was a lot more realistic at that point. And so again, agents need to do that. And that way we can better serve our buyers and sellers.
That is true. That is true. And now talk about stress when you're selling your own house and you're getting ready to have the inspection. right?
Yeah, inspection periods can be a little bit tough, and because you never know what they're going to find. There's been a lot of inspectors that have been, that have caused transactions to fall apart, because sometimes they, put too much of their own opinion into it instead of just keeping it straight to the facts. And, so you just have to be careful. Sometimes we have to be able to interpret what different things mean and be able to relay that in a message to our buyers and sellers to help them understand.
Yeah, that's one thing actually that's always important to remember when it comes to home inspecting. My son grew up, his father was a home inspector for 30 years. And, it's important to remember when you go to the inspection to talk to the inspector and walk around and find out what's going on. Because a lot of times those home inspectors write the report for two things: CYA, right? So they can't get sued because they missed something. Or mine used to write them to help me negotiate more off, like to get more repairs done. So sometimes inspectors might say to you face to face, hey, look, you know what? This is what's wrong. You can do this if you want to fix it. But they may write the report a lot stronger. So whatever you do not go through and just not show up to the inspection and read the report and then get completely freaked out because you don't know, what was the driving force behind what was written on that inspection. Does that make sense, Paul?
Yeah, it sure does. Yeah.
I've had an inspector help me get a new roof before,
Yeah,
So,
and there's different things that can be done, and that's just it. You never know, and actually, roofing is a good topic because one of the things we find out is that a roof can have a lifespan of anywhere from 20 to 40 years or more in some cases, depending on the type of roof, and in some cases, in some climates, maybe even less than 20. But the thing is that when you get into a home that has some years on it, if the roof is if the roof is approaching that 15-year mark, you might have some issues with getting homeowners insurance. And so you have to look at that carefully, and the home inspector helps in that regard in determining the approximate age of the home or the age of the roof. And so, and a lot of times as an agent, I can look up there and say, yeah, there's not much life left in that roof. And so, that going in, you got to be prepared that, you might find insurance for it, but you're going to pay a higher premium because of that roof, but not everybody's going to want to insure it.
exactly. Well, this has been an amazing meeting. Okay, I'm going to say that. I'm also going to say we've had more people in this meeting than I think we've ever had in one of our Ask the Experts. So I appreciate everybody for that. Does anybody have any other questions or input or what did you think?
And now's the time to get your questions answered.
Right?
That was excellent, Paul. Thank you.
Wasn't it great?
I hope can I establish credit?
I appreciate
It's
it.
been a pleasure to do this tonight, and I hope that it was helpful to everybody. And certainly for those that want a copy of the book, I think you'll find it very useful. I think it's about 40 pages or so, and it'll give some good guidance, something something to go on. There, keep in mind that there's no way I can list every possible scenario or circumstance that you might face along the way, but it's the basics to help guide you and make some good decisions for yourself in that home buying process.
Awesome. And don't forget our realtors that in the chat is Paul's email address. And if you want to email him, he will send you the Word doc so that you can share that with your people that are on the call. I'm actually, while we're sitting here, I'm taking a picture of everybody who registered so that people know which, we're all over the United States and we have affiliates located all over the United States. So I want to make sure that our affiliates know that their people came tonight. And so that way we can make sure you get the book as well. So Paul, I appreciate your leadership and I appreciate you taking the time to do this first, right? And honestly, I really appreciate you allowing me to like be a participant for a change. So,
It's my pleasure, and I look forward to the coming weeks and being able to have other people as well sit in that will be beneficial to buyers and sellers, whether it be your lending advice, whether it's our credit repair, whether it's a home inspector. I look forward to seeing all these different people coming on board here and sharing their information, because even as realtors, it's good to hear that information too, because there's always something else that comes up that we may not have had to deal with or didn't hear about, and so it's good for us to be on board.
well, actually, that's a great point because next week, my amazing team of bad, lending women are going to be going over the process of lending, and we're going to be, each person's going to take a different type of loan product and we're going to walk you guys through it. Then I believe our next goal is to get an inspector and an appraiser on, and then the fourth week we will have our we have a great credit repair person who happens to be related to Paul, but I'm going to be fair and have two on together, or I don't know, one on 1 month because somebody else keeps, and I personally, I'm still on live. Never mind. I just realized I'm still on Facebook Live. So we will have credit repair. So this week is realtors, next week is lenders. Then we will have the inspectors. Then we will have credit repair. And then hopefully one of our other realtors, I'm hoping either we're going to have a panel of realtors taking turns, or once a month we'll have a different realtor, one of our affiliates, and we are, like I said, national, kind of step in. But you will find that every week you should have a panel of realtors and my lending team on these calls. If you have any special kind of questions, you can also chat one-on-one. Yes, I do. Leslie, what area are you in? So I can let you know who your lender person is, because we are actually breaking the lenders down now in areas. So
I'm up near Ocala.
Oh, that's right. That would be me, or Geneva. Probably me, because Geneva is North Florida. So you get me. So yeah, I could definitely talk to you about that. I want to talk to you, and Heather might be somebody that might be able to help us with that as well, right? Because she got stuff taken off I'm just going to be really real, and Jenny, don't curl and freak out that I'm getting ready to say this, but man, I was super excited. My credit score is higher than it's ever been, ever, right? It has gone up, I believe, 90 points. Did you know that, Paul? As of this week.
No, I had no idea. That's amazing. I know Heather. Heather shared her score with me, and I was just like, wow.
I mean, it's not perfect, but nothing like having a 20-year-old get in a car accident and give her dad's address, and you, the person responsible for it, to blow your credit score out the window.
Yeah.
Well, not just that. We have other things. We come from two different marriages. And anyway.
But Heather also can do a lot with the student loans, from what I understand.
Yes, she can, and she can do a lot with student loans. She can do a lot with collections, and you know what she can do a lot with? Not that I don't get my husband. Sorry, honey, if you're on this call. I'm live. Never mind. But they can get stuff off that maybe you forgot to do by mistake, and you might have gotten a late here or there. she can get that removed too. Blew my mind. I mean, so student loans for sure. If it's, let's talk, if it's not that big of a deal and it's something that's not that big of a deal, Leslie, then that's cool. But if not, definitely get with Miss Heather because she will, she's amazing. And I am going to be in trouble because I just did that live. So, everybody, anybody else have any questions? I feel like I should like put Heather's information in here now already. Do you want to type her her phone number in there, Paul?
Yeah, we can put it in there real quick. Let me.
Look like a fat pork.
It's funny in this day and age. It's you never
Yeah.
can't remember anybody's phone number.
The only phone number I know by heart is my husband in Geneva's, and she's my oldest and has had the same phone number since she was 12. And then my husband's phone number. That's it. So. And Patty, it is great to see you on the call tonight too. It's so funny. I feel like I know these people. Kevin's dad is watching the video. I called him out.
Oh. Okay, so I put the number into the chat. It's Heather Garza. She's the one that does the credit repair. She's got a 302 number. She used to live in Delaware, but she's now here in Central Florida. But yeah, she definitely has been working wonders. We've got several people through Heroes Housing working with her. Student loans are a big problem. Especially a lot
What
of
have
people.
you seen her do with the student loans?
I'm not sure what she does with them, but I know that she's got something where it's not having a negative impact on the credit score. So,
okay, personally, I just want them off the report. Is that possible? I don't want to see they exist.
Yeah, that I don't know. I'm just a messenger here in that part. Luckily, I haven't had to go through the process myself with her because it's been long enough for me where my score, I'm at least back in the mid 700s and I'm happy with that. I don't need to be any better, but I've been in the
700s is good. I mean, that's great. That's where you want
yeah,
to be.
but I've been much lower, so I understand, when people face that and you really don't know where to turn. I've used credit repair in the past and spent a lot of money, and it was just month after month and just a very slow process and not seeing any results. I was even skeptical when Heather introduced this to me, but then when she started showing me results, I was just like, wow. She made me a believer. I'm seeing it happen, and we've got a couple coming back into the home buying market because they've been with her for the last few months. They've got their credit score up, and now they're ready to get going. So
yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, she like I said, ours was a hospital bill that was really a pain point that one of your kids do, and it was a game changer to get that. I mean, when I saw that thing, this is what I do for a living.
yeah.
Like, how can I get a collection on me? Like, really? But, to get that removed really has been amazing. They also can like take off addresses. It's really strange the different things that they can do that make it go up. So I would definitely, and they don't charge you for 2 years at $90 a month, which is good. I think she also does a discount for Heroes, correct?
Yeah, she sure does. Yep.
So that's awesome. All right, guys. Well, I am ready to call it a night. I hope to see everybody on here next week.
You too.
Sounds
I don't
good.
know how to unlive,
you.
so I'm going to stop that and I'm going to turn the screen off. Thank you guys very much.
Bye.
You